I'm so excited to chat IEPs with you today. So much has been happening this school year, and there's a lot of questions happening as new services are being developed for students who are back in school full-time for the first time in a very long time. So I'm here preparing. You can see behind me here. I'm preparing for our Master IEP Coach Mentorship event that is happening in Orlando. The Master IEP Coach Mentorship is 100% online, but we've added some live events to make sure that you can get connected to like-minded people like you, parents, teachers, admins, therapists who want change in special education. So one of the questions that I've gotten this week in my inbox, it came in over the weekend, was, does my child need a 504 and an IEP? There's confusing information out there when a child is struggling, and it almost feels like this going back to school felt like a child was getting thrown into the ocean of like sink or swim. Here we go. We're back in school. Any of you guys feeling like that? Even yourself, maybe not your child or your student, but you're feeling like, okay, here we go. We're in. And we have to create some supports when a child is, floundering in that situation, right? This is not a wait and see what happens, because you know what? We already know the child is struggling. So if you're hearing wait and see, let's make sure we have a plan during that wait and see, because sometimes paperwork takes a little while. But then what paperwork are we working on? What's going to be the first life jacket that we're going to put onto the child who is really in this middle of back to school season? They feel like they're drowning. It's overwhelming to them. So there's a couple of different processes. One is a 504. A 504 is completely different than an IEP. Like, it's governed under a separate law. So no, a child does not get a 504 and an IEP. You do not have to start with a 504 to get an IEP. You can move from a 504 to an IEP or an IEP to a 504, but they have very different criteria. So let me just give you a really quick what a 504 is. 504 is to make sure that a child has access to their environment the same as their peers. So a lot of times this might be a child who does not have a specific disability, but maybe they have some medical needs that need to be addressed. So they need different access, like physical access to their school community. Maybe they have some diagnosis such as ADD, ADHD, and we need some extended time. Let's not just put extended time, though. Let's make sure we define what that means. So there's a lot of different things that can go into a 504 that supports a child, but there is not any specially designed curriculum or specially designed instruction. It only supports. It supports so the child can just access everything as their typical peers, but they need some assistance to get there. Now, if supports are not enough, if we need some curriculum and some instruction that's very specific to meet a child's unique needs, it's going to look different than their typical peers, then we're going into the realm of IEPs. Then we're moving into not just having the supports, which happen in 504, they also happen in the IEP, but we're also talking about specific services. We might be changing a child's placement. They might be spending time in a different room for a significant amount of time. They might be receiving a significant amount of services through speech, PT, OT. They have goals that they're working towards that require a different type of instruction than the general education students. Then we're in the IEP. So if you are new to this process and you know that your child's struggling and you're trying to figure out which life jacket do you get to put on your child first, what paperwork should you get started, please don't hesitate to put a comment below or send me a DM, and I'll get you some resources that you can look through and figure out where you want to start. Whatever you do, don't try and figure this out alone. There are many of us Master IEP coaches. There are many other parents and teachers that are here to help support you, to bring you through this process of figuring out what supports does your child need, a 504 or an IEP. No, they don't need both, right? So we've got that. And if you're struggling where to start, or you're struggling where to go next, maybe you have a 504 for your child, or maybe you have an IEP for your child, but you're struggling where to go next, please do not hesitate to reach out. And as always, you can figure out what's going on inside of our Master IEP Coach community and decide if you want to join us over at masteriepcoach.com. I'm completely obsessed with IEPs. I've been working on them for 25 years. I'm a former special education classroom teacher. I'm a special needs sibling. My brother's 44 with Down syndrome. And the Master IEP Coach Mentorship was built for you. It was built to show you how you can build collaborative solutions that truly do make a difference for a child. And when you change a child's IEP to create a meaningful document that prepares a child for further education, employment, independent living, you not only change that child's future, you change an entire family's future. So if you are thinking, man, I want to work on IEPs for myself, and then I also want to help others, that's where you do it, over at masteriepcoach.com.